Britain's boredom madness just took another sinister twist. New HIV diagnoses have hit a 15-year high after a surge in the number of cases among migrants coming to England. That is according to the UK Health Security Agency. Just look at the detail of this. 53% of new cases were from people who were diagnosed abroad, the majority from Africa. In total, half of these cases were from people born in Eastern Africa, while a further 22% were from other parts of Africa. About 8% of people were born in each of Asia and Latin America and the Caribbean. Now, Nigel Farage did warn about this years ago and was vilified for it.
There are 7,000 diagnoses in this country every year for people who are HIV positive, but 60% of them are not British nationals. You can come into Britain from anywhere in the world and get diagnosed with HIV and get the retroviral drugs that cost up to £25,000 per year per patient.
This kind of scaremongering rhetoric is dangerous.
It's a fact.
It's dangerous, it divides communities and it creates stigma to people who are ill, and I think you would be ashamed of yourself.
Well, yeah, according to the UK Health Security Agency, it is a fact. I mean, here's another fact, all right? A record 1,317 asylum seekers have been caught out pretending to be children in the first half of this year. It is the highest number for the first 6 months of any year on record, and more than the combined totals of all of 2017, 2018 and 2019. So when people say, no, they're all children, you can point them in the direction of those numbers, and indeed you can point them in the direction of this article from 2018, where schoolgirls asked, why is a 30-year-old man in my maths class? That man claimed to be 15. Do you remember, by any chance, when Yvette Cooper said this?
Fixing the chaos in the asylum system, ending asylum hotels, clearing the backlog and setting up a new returns unit to get, in place of the gimmicks, to actually get some grip again.
Labour are going to clear the backlog and end the use of migrant hotels. Well, we currently have a record number of people in that backlog, and believe it or not, the oldest case is 17 years old, which means that the chap tried to claim asylum under Tony Blair, lived through 14 years of the Tories, and then now hopes this Labour government will give him a crack. And Yvette Cooper has just admitted that she can't end the use of hotels because the backlog is so high, which means we could still be paying for hotels in 3 years' time, at a cost of around £4 million a day. A Labour source told The Times it's going to take a lot longer to clear than we anticipated. Yeah. So to summarise, HIV cases at a 15-year high, more fake child asylum seekers than ever before, loads of migrant hotels for at least another 3 years, and the backlog is bigger than ever. Labour seem to like other people's money, don't they? And we'll come on to that later. But I do wonder if Starmer and Cooper's smash the gangs promise was a cheque that they can't cash. Let's get the thoughts of my panel this evening. I'm joined by the Director of Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, and the broadcaster and journalist Nina Mishkov. Mark, I'll start with you on this. I mean, the migrant crisis is both a public health emergency as well as a financial emergency, according to the figures there.
No, that's right. And it was intriguing seeing that clip. You don't have to like or be sympathetic to Nigel Farage to actually still want us to get the basic facts on the table. And I think it's terrible if people sort of say, well, you can't say that, people might take offence. Facts cannot be racist. And we need the facts in order to make these sort of determinations. Look, let's be honest here. The system is totally broken from top to toe. The legal arrangements are crazy, and it's my view that we'll have to leave the European Convention of Human Rights in order to have a more streamlined system, because the list of appeals you can make are exhaustive. People have worked out ways to game the system. I mean, 17 years is an outlier, but it's just ludicrous there's a single case that has taken that long. And then we've actually got the problem of basic broad enforcement. I think by most judgments, I don't know exactly how you'd measure it, the Home Office is the most dysfunctional department in government, the most dysfunctional department in Whitehall, and that's quite a high bar to clear, because most of them are dysfunctional. That's got to be completely overhauled. Look, I'm not going to tritely blame the Labour government for this after what it is 100 days in office, but my worry is they don't have a coherent plan to even deal with it.
And that's part of the problem, because they told us they did. They told us we can clear the backlog.
Yep.
They told us we can end the use of migrant hotels. And actually, now here we are, less than 100 days in, the backlog is higher than ever. It turns out we've had a record number of fake child asylum seekers, and they've already said that they're going to continue using hotels for at least another 3 years, Adam.
Look, I've been doing a lot of soul-searching recently, wondering what the future of this country holds for my children. I'm scared. This country facilitates tens of thousands of unknown, unchecked men from different cultures being put into our communities. We're even putting them in our classrooms because these migrants are pretending to be children. Now, our social housing is getting filled up by foreign-born. Our own poorest will not be able to get social housing in just a few years. We're now seeing a surge in fatal diseases and once controlled diseases like HIV. We are putting ourselves in danger by letting these people carry on coming across on these boats. In France, they only grant around a quarter of those asylum seekers their applications. In this country, it's more like 3/4. So it's pretty damn...
60%.
It's pretty damn obvious that many of those that are coming to this country are simply economic migrants.
Well, Nina, how do you feel about that when you see some of the health figures there? And by the way, I should say as well, when it comes to those HIV figures, it's not just channel migrants that counts for. It's people generally to illegal migrants as well. Right?
Absolutely.
How do you feel when you see that, as the idea there that, you know, it was deemed to be... You couldn't say that out loud, but it is a fact.
It's a fact, and it's a tragic fact. And I do think it is a worry. And particularly if you look at what the incidence of HIV, in particular in sub-Saharan Africa, in particular South Africa, it's absolutely, you know, the HIV is rife throughout the population. I don't think we're getting migrants so much from South Africa as from East Africa, but East Africa is responsible in many of those cases. It is an absolutely tragic situation. And the thing is that I'm not sitting here and saying we should, you know, let anybody come in and let's all, you know, look after them. I'm saying that they have a legal... Migrants, whether they are healthy or unhealthy, do have a legal right to come ask for refuge in our shores. The incidence of problems that arise from migrants, Adam is, you know, completely conflating every...
No, the stats
Hang on.
one second.
You haven't even heard what I'm saying.
Sweden and Denmark prove that migrants are disproportionately...
Adam, you hadn't even hear what I said.
Crimes and violent crimes in those countries.
Adam, you didn't even wait to hear what I was going to say. Thank you, Patrick. Otherwise, I'd say you're another member of the bloody Taliban here, silencing a woman. Absolutely. Absolutely.
The other week you called me a lunatic and Patrick, and now you're calling me the Taliban. OK, Nina.
Well, thank you for letting me speak now. When I'm allowed to speak, you're a man allowing me to speak. Thank you very much.
Did you not butt in when I was speaking?
All right, guys, let's keep it on topic.
I answered the points you made. Right. You didn't even let me make a point.
Please do.
OK, the point I'm making is that Adam seems to conflate every single problem that has been caused by 14 years of Tory misrule and blaming it on immigrants. Now, that is divisive and inflationary, and I will call it out when I hear it. What I was going to say...
So you don't like facts? You don't like the fact that migrants are disproportionately committing sex crimes and violent crimes across Europe? Facts.
That is not the point we are making.
That a fact?
That is not... I don't know that fact.
Well, that is a fact. That is a fact.
I don't know that. I'd like to see it in black and white. The problem is that we've had 14 years, we're talking about migrants, we had 14 years of...
What's the solution, Nina?
The solution is to get a Home Office that bloody well works, and we haven't had that. Now, hang on a minute. Look, hang on a minute.
Is this a monologue or a discussion?
This is a monologue at this point, because I've listened to monologues.
It's supposed to be a discussion. But here is the problem. We've got to take a hard-headed look at this. We can be compassionate about it, but we need to be realistic about it. The National Health Service, which seems to be permanently on its knees, can't realistically be a World Health Service. So we've actually got to make a hard-headed decision about whether you want drugs to treat HIV to be available to a large number of people who are not presently British citizens? You can say yes, but then you're going to have to find a very large amount of money from somewhere. But I think it's perfectly reasonable to segment all of these different issues, whether it's crime, whether it's the cost of health treatment, and you might argue you want to provide it, but it will have to be funded. And in each and every area, I think there are problems around immigration because the system was broken down. And rather than just sort of saying, well, 14 years of Tory misrule and Labour's only been in for 3 months, I'm not making a partisan point. I want to actually get to what the public policy solution would be.
But we need a Home Office that works.
Yeah,
if each case was processed within 6 months, we wouldn't have this problem.
Yeah. But unfortunately, I've just saw a story just before I came on air, which I think we're probably going to talk about a bit later on. The civil service have just voted to go on all-out strike because they were about to be forced to do 2 days a week in the office.
They will need to be brought into line because, I mean, and this is an anecdotal story, somebody we know, their brother-in-law is head of a team at the asylum processing. He works from home.
Right.
He works from home on the golf course. His wife taps the mice.
That's reassuring.
Absolutely. So we need to get people back in the office. We need to get people working. Between April and June, the number of cases solved by the process went down from 14,000 to 3,000, which is ridiculous. It's the Home Office.
The other point here is it cuts, and Labour are bang in trouble at the moment about allegations with sleaze, about allegations with, and it is allegations of things like corruption or a bit grubby. It's a bit grubby, right? And we are very much coming on to that because there is quite a big bit about Lord Ali that is landing quite soon. But when you look at this, it's also about lies and deceit, isn't it? Something else worth keeping an eye on. Lies and deceit when it comes to the Labour Party.
Look,
and if they've told us, we've got this plan, we can clear the backlog, we can clear the hotels, and we're all going to be paying £4 million a day for at least another 3 years, well, I'm sorry, they weren't being honest about that, were they? No,
they wasn't at all. And, they made all these promises. They funnily enough, they didn't mention that they was going to go after pensioners before the election because that, people wouldn't have voted for that. Tuition fees for students, that they was going to abolish them a few years ago. Now they're putting them up 13.5%. So how many more lies are there? And I do not trust this Labour government on immigration because, unfortunately, people like Nina and people on the left seem to think this rose-tinted vision that we've got scientists and doctors coming across on dinghies from France, when it clearly isn't the case.
It's not a rose-tinted vision. There are people who have brains. There are people who are capable of having a career that can contribute to our society. One of those young asylum seekers who was found out to have said he was a kid and he turned out to be... where was he caught? He was caught in a school, aged 19, doing his GCSEs. Now, that's hardly out...
Surrounded by 15-year-old girls.
Yeah.
Well,
he's 90. He was 19, not... This is a particular one. No, come on.
Obvious that's what the British education system's
for, but
you're surrounded by a load of girls.
No, he's not a man.
We've also had
you're implying...
20-year-olds in classrooms with children.
I agree, that's wrong, but you're implying that they're all useless individuals who are only out to,
you can measure cohorts, Nina, and you can make overall judgments about the data about that cohort. You don't need to tar everybody with the same brush. But public policy requires you to look at data sets, work out where problems are, and then think through what the solution
The problem is the Home Office. Get it working. Get people processed.
I want a Home Office and a government that works for the working people and the people of this country.
Split up
not
the Home Office.
For people that are born abroad.
OK, fine. Look, OK, so it's been quite a bombshell day when it comes to illegal and, arguably legal migration as well. Some damning health stats there about HIV. Also the idea that we've got record levels of fake child asylum seekers. It's not great, is it, at the moment in Britain? But anyway.